Have you ever noticed how one toxic person can completely change your mood? You can wake up feeling peaceful. Your day is going well. Your mind is clear. Then someone says something disrespectful. Someone criticizes you. Someone deliberately provokes you. Someone lies about you. Someone constantly complains, manipulates, insults, or tries to make you feel guilty. And suddenly, your entire emotional state changes. You replay their words in your head. You imagine what you should have said. You become angry. You become frustrated. You start planning your response. And even after that person has walked away, they are still living inside your mind. This is exactly where Stoicism becomes powerful. Because the Stoics understood something that most people never learn. You cannot control the behavior of toxic people, but you can control how much power you give their behavior over your mind. And once you understand that, toxic people become far less dangerous. Not because they suddenly become good, not because they stop behaving badly, but because you stop allowing their behavior to determine who you become. Marcus Aurelius had to deal with difficult people too. He dealt with dishonest people, arrogant people, selfish people, angry people, manipulative people, and people who wanted power. Yet he repeatedly reminded himself that other people's behavior should not corrupt his own character. That is the heart of Stoicism. You don't defeat a toxic person by becoming more toxic than them. You don't defeat manipulation by becoming manipulative. You don't defeat anger with more anger. You don't defeat disrespect by throwing away your dignity. You defeat toxicity by refusing to let it transform you into someone you don't want to be. Today, we're going to explore 7 Stoic ways to deal with toxic people without losing your peace, your dignity, or your emotional control. And the first lesson is perhaps the most important. 1. Stop expecting toxic people to act like you. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is expecting a toxic person to suddenly behave according to your values. You think, why can't they just be honest? Why can't they admit when they're wrong? Why do they always have to criticize me? Why can't they respect my boundaries? Why do they keep creating drama? But here's the problem. You are measuring their behavior using your standards, and that creates unnecessary frustration. A Stoic does something different. A Stoic observes reality before deciding how to respond to it. If someone has repeatedly shown you that they are dishonest, stop expecting honesty from them. If someone constantly creates drama, stop expecting peace from them. If someone repeatedly violates boundaries, stop assuming that the next time will magically be different. This doesn't mean you become cynical. It means you become realistic. There is a huge difference. Cynicism says, everyone is terrible. Stoicism says, people behave according to their character. I should pay attention to what their actions consistently reveal. Think about this. If you touch a hot stove and get burned, you don't spend 6 months being angry at the stove. You learn. You understand the nature of the object, and you adjust your behavior. Yet when it comes to people, we often refuse to do the same thing. Someone shows us who they are. We ignore it. They repeat the behavior. We forgive them. They repeat it again. And then we become angry that they haven't changed. The problem isn't always their behavior. Sometimes the problem is our refusal to accept what their behavior is telling us. A Stoic learns to observe patterns, not promises, not excuses, not potential, patterns. What does this person repeatedly do? How do they behave when they don't get what they want? How do they treat people who cannot benefit them? How do they respond when you establish boundaries? How do they behave when they are angry? These questions reveal character. And once you recognize someone's pattern, you can stop being surprised by it. That alone gives you tremendous peace. Because expectation is one of the biggest sources of emotional pain. You expect someone to be kind. They aren't. You expect someone to appreciate you. They don't. You expect someone to apologize. They refuse. You expect someone to change. They don't. And now you're emotionally suffering because reality didn't obey your expectations. The Stoic response is simple. Accept reality first, then decide what to do about it. Acceptance does not mean approval. Let me repeat that. Acceptance does not mean approval. You can accept that someone is toxic without accepting their behavior. You can recognize that someone is manipulative without allowing them to manipulate you. You can understand that someone is disrespectful without tolerating disrespect. You simply stop wasting energy arguing with reality. And that brings us to the second Stoic principle. 2. Don't react, respond. Toxic people often thrive on emotional reactions. They know exactly which buttons to push. They say something insulting. You react. They become louder. You become louder. They accuse you. You defend yourself. They provoke you. You explode. And suddenly, they have achieved exactly what they wanted. They have taken control of your emotional state. This is why emotional control is one of the greatest forms of power. Epictetus emphasized the importance of understanding that events themselves do not completely determine our emotional responses. There is a space between what happens and what we choose to do about it. That space is where your power lives. Someone insults you. That is the event. Your immediate anger is a reaction. But between the insult and your response, there is a moment, a tiny moment. And Stoicism teaches you to reclaim that moment. Instead of reacting immediately, pause. Breathe. Observe. Ask yourself, does this require a response? Will responding improve the situation? Am I responding from wisdom or from anger? Will I respect myself after I say this? These questions can save you from years of unnecessary conflict, because sometimes the strongest response is no response. Not because you are weak, because you understand that not every battle deserves your energy. Imagine someone insults you publicly. Your first instinct might be to insult them back. But what happens next? You argue. They argue. Other people get involved. Your emotions rise. And 20 minutes later, you realize you're arguing with someone you don't even respect. Was it worth it? The Stoic understands that attention is valuable. Your emotional energy is valuable. Your peace is valuable. And you should not hand those things to everyone who asks for them. A toxic person may say, "You think you're better than everyone." You don't have to prove that you're not. They may say, "Nobody likes you." You don't have to defend your entire personality. They may say, "You're a failure." You don't have to produce a list of your accomplishments. Sometimes the most powerful answer is simply, "I don't agree." And then you move on. Not every accusation deserves a courtroom. Not every insult deserves a speech. Not every provocation deserves your attention. The more you practice responding instead of reacting, the more difficult you become to manipulate. Because manipulation depends on predictability. If someone knows exactly how you'll react when they insult you, they can control the conversation. But if you become calm and unpredictable in your emotional responses, they lose that advantage. Your silence becomes powerful. Your pause becomes powerful. Your ability to walk away becomes powerful. And this leads to the third lesson. 3. Set boundaries without anger. A boundary is not a threat. A boundary is a decision. This distinction is extremely important. Many people think setting boundaries means telling someone, "If you ever do that again, I'll destroy you." That's not a boundary. That's an emotional reaction. A Stoic boundary sounds different. If you speak to me disrespectfully, I will end the conversation. If you continue insulting me, I will leave. If you cannot communicate calmly, we can talk another time. Notice something. You're not trying to control them. You're controlling yourself. That is Stoic. You cannot force another person to behave well, but you can decide what you will participate in. This is one of the most liberating principles you can learn. You don't have to convince someone to respect your boundary. You simply enforce it. Imagine a person constantly calling you late at night to complain about their problems. You repeatedly listen. They never ask how you're doing. They never change anything. They simply unload their negativity onto you. Instead of becoming angry, you can say, "I understand you're having a difficult time, but I can't continue having these conversations late at night." That's it. No long explanation. No guilt. No argument. No apology for having a boundary. A boundary doesn't require permission. And sometimes toxic people will test your boundaries. They may say, "Wow, you've changed. You become selfish. You don't care about me anymore. You're acting differently." Don't panic. Of course you're acting differently. That's the point. Growth often looks like disappointing people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Remember that. Some people will call your boundaries selfish because your availability benefited them. The Stoic doesn't need everyone to understand their decisions. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need applause for walking away from chaos. And you don't need to explain every decision you make. Your life becomes much calmer when you stop trying to convince everyone that your boundaries are reasonable. You establish them. You communicate them clearly. And then you follow through. That is strength without aggression, power without cruelty, and control without domination. The first 3 Stoic rules. So let's pause and remember the first 3. 1. Stop expecting toxic people to behave according to your values. Observe their patterns. Accept reality. Adjust your expectations. 2. Don't react. Respond. Create space between what happens and what you do. Never let another person's emotional instability dictate your behavior. 3. Set boundaries without anger. Don't threaten. Don't manipulate. Don't scream. Simply decide what you will and will not participate in. Because your goal is not to control toxic people. Your goal is to control yourself. And once you understand that, something changes. You stop asking, how do I make this person change? And you start asking, how do I make sure this person doesn't change me? That is the real battle. Because the greatest danger of dealing with toxic people isn't merely what they do to you. It's what their behavior can turn you into. They can make you suspicious, bitter, angry, defensive, cold, reactive. And if you're not careful, you can become so obsessed with protecting yourself from toxic people that you slowly become toxic yourself. The Stoic refuses to let that happen. Because your character is more valuable than winning an argument. Your peace is more valuable than proving someone wrong. And your self-control is more valuable than the temporary satisfaction of revenge. But there are still 4 deeper lessons. In part 2, we're going to examine how to stop taking toxic people's behavior personally, how to protect your mind from negativity, and why sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is emotionally detach. Because sometimes walking away isn't defeat. Sometimes walking away is the ultimate expression of self-control. 4. Stop taking their behavior personally. One of the most powerful things you can learn is this. People often reveal themselves through the way they treat you, but their behavior is not always a reflection of your worth. A toxic person insults you. You think, maybe I'm not good enough. They criticize you. You think, maybe they're right. They reject you. You think, what's wrong with me? They try to embarrass you. You think, how could they treat me like this? But what if you stopped immediately turning their behavior into a statement about your identity? What if their behavior says more about their character than yours? Imagine walking past a barking dog. The dog starts barking at you. You don't stop and think, what did I do to deserve this? You don't spend the entire night wondering whether you should have approached the dog differently. You understand that the dog is behaving according to its nature. Human beings are obviously more complex than animals, but the principle remains useful. People behave according to their beliefs, insecurities, experiences, habits, desires, and character. Someone who constantly insults others may be deeply insecure. Someone who constantly criticizes may have trained themselves to search for flaws. Someone who constantly lies may have built a life around avoiding responsibility. Someone who constantly manipulates may have learned that emotional pressure gets them what they want. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior. It simply prevents you from absorbing it. This is an important distinction. You can say, that person treated me badly, without saying, therefore, I am worthless. Those are 2 completely different statements. One describes their behavior. The other attacks your identity. Never confuse the 2. Someone's opinion of you is not automatically evidence about you. Think about how often people disagree about the same person. One person thinks you're amazing. Another thinks you're difficult. One person thinks you're intelligent. Another thinks you're arrogant. One person admires your confidence. Another calls you insecure. Which opinion is the objective truth? The reality is that people interpret you through their own perspective. Their judgment is filtered through their experiences, expectations, emotions, and biases. So why would you hand your self-worth to people whose judgment is influenced by all of those things? A Stoic asked a better question. What do I know about myself based on my own actions? Did you act with integrity? Did you tell the truth? Did you keep your promises? Did you treat people fairly? Did you do your best? Did you act according to your principles? If the answer is yes, then someone else's insult doesn't automatically change the truth. This doesn't mean you ignore criticism. That's another mistake. Stoicism isn't about becoming incapable of receiving feedback. If someone gives you useful criticism, listen. If they are pointing out a genuine flaw, examine it. If you're wrong, admit it. But there's a difference between criticism and cruelty. Criticism says, here's something you could improve. Toxicity says, you're worthless. Criticism addresses behavior. Toxicity attacks identity. A wise person extracts useful information without swallowing unnecessary poison. Imagine someone says, you handle that presentation badly. You can examine it. Maybe you did. Perhaps you rushed. Perhaps you weren't prepared. Learn from it. But if someone says, you're pathetic, you'll never accomplish anything, there may be nothing useful in that statement. You don't have to analyze every insult looking for hidden wisdom. Sometimes an insult is simply an insult. Let it pass, because every word does not deserve residence in your mind. 5. Stop trying to prove yourself. This is one of the hardest lessons. Toxic people often create situations where you feel compelled to defend yourself. They misunderstand you. You explain. They accuse you. You explain again. They twist your explanation. You explain even more. Eventually, you're exhausted. Why? Because you're trying to control their perception of you. And you can't. You could spend your entire life explaining yourself, and someone committed to misunderstanding you will still misunderstand you. This is why the Stoic doesn't make universal approval the goal. Marcus Aurelius understood that living according to virtue matters more than being praised by others. Your job is not to make everyone understand you. Your job is to live in a way you can respect. Let that sink in. Your job is not to win everyone's approval. Your job is to become someone whose own conscience is at peace. Imagine someone spreads a false rumor about you. Your first instinct may be to immediately defend yourself. Sometimes that's necessary. But ask yourself, does everyone need my explanation? Probably not. Some people already know your character. Others don't know you well enough to matter. And some people have already decided what they want to believe. Trying to convince the third group can become a never-ending trap, because the more you explain, the more material they have to twist. The more you defend, the more defensive you appear. The more you argue, the more energy you give them. Sometimes your consistency over time is a stronger defense than your words. If someone claims you're dishonest, but everyone who has dealt with you consistently knows you're trustworthy, do you need to panic? No. Let your actions accumulate evidence. Let your character speak. There is tremendous freedom in realizing that you don't have to respond to every accusation. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. You don't have to answer every question. You don't have to prove your intentions to people determined to interpret them negatively. There is a Stoic strength in saying, I know what I did. I know why I did it. And I don't need everyone to understand. That's freedom, because the moment you need everyone to see you as good, intelligent, successful, attractive, strong, or worthy, you become vulnerable to anyone who refuses to give you that validation. They can control you simply by withholding approval. But when you stop needing external validation, their power disappears. Someone says, you're not impressive. You don't need to perform. Someone says, nobody cares about you. You don't need to beg for attention. Someone says, you're a failure. You don't need to produce your achievements. You simply continue living, quietly, consistently, purposefully, and eventually you understand something profound. You don't have to prove your worth to people who are committed to undervaluing you. Your worth is not a courtroom case. You don't need to build a legal defense every time someone forms an opinion about you. The Stoic practice of emotional distance. Now let's talk about something incredibly important. Emotional distance. This doesn't mean becoming heartless. It doesn't mean becoming cold. It doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop allowing other people's emotional states to become your emotional states. A toxic person walks into the room angry. You don't automatically become angry. Someone is anxious. You don't automatically become anxious. Someone is miserable. You don't automatically become miserable. Someone is trying to create drama. You don't automatically participate. You observe, you understand, and you choose. That's emotional independence. Think about being near someone who is constantly complaining. They complain about their job, their family, their neighbors, their partner, their friends, the government, the weather, the economy, everything. And after 20 minutes of listening, you suddenly feel exhausted. Why? Because emotions can be contagious. But you don't have to catch everything that enters your environment. Imagine someone throwing a bowl toward you. You have a choice. You can catch it, or you can let it fall. The same principle applies to emotional negativity. Someone throws anger at you. You don't have to catch it. Someone throws insecurity at you. You don't have to catch it. Someone throws hatred at you. You don't have to catch it. Someone throws blame at you. You don't have to catch it. This is what emotional detachment looks like. You see the emotion without becoming the emotion. You hear the words without allowing them to define you. You recognize the negativity without becoming negative. That is a Stoic mind. Don't let their chaos become your chaos. One of the greatest mistakes people make around toxic individuals is trying to match their emotional intensity. They scream. You scream louder. They become disrespectful. You become disrespectful. They become sarcastic. You become sarcastic. They create chaos. You respond with chaos. Now there are two chaotic people in the room. What did that accomplish? Nothing. The Stoic asks, who benefits if I lose control? Usually, the answer is a person trying to provoke you. If someone wants you angry, your anger is their victory. If someone wants you defensive, your defensiveness gives them control. If someone wants you distracted, your obsession gives them exactly what they wanted. So don't give it to them. Stay calm. Not because they deserve your calmness, because you deserve your calmness. That's a completely different mindset. You aren't staying calm to impress them. You're staying calm because your nervous system, your attention, your time, and your peace are too valuable to sacrifice. The power of walking away. There is a point where conversation stops being communication and becomes competition. You explain. They twist. You clarify. They attack. You defend. They accuse. And eventually, you realize something. This conversation isn't going anywhere. That's when walking away becomes wisdom. Walking away doesn't mean they won. It means you recognize that continuing is no longer productive. A Stoic doesn't measure victory by how long they can argue. A Stoic measures victory by whether they maintain control over themselves. Imagine someone saying, "You're running away because you know I'm right." You don't have to take the bait. You can simply say, "We're not going to agree. I'm ending the conversation." And leave. No dramatic exit. No final insult. No door slamming. No last word. Just peace. The need to have the last word is one of the most expensive forms of ego. Think about how many arguments could have ended 5 minutes earlier if both people stopped trying to deliver the perfect final sentence. But people want the last word because they think the last word means victory. It doesn't. Sometimes the last word is silence. Sometimes the strongest statement is your absence. Sometimes the most powerful response is nothing. The difference between forgiving and re-entering. Now here's something important. Stoicism encourages us to develop wisdom, not bitterness. You may forgive someone, but forgiveness does not require renewed access. You can release anger without reopening the door. You can wish someone well without keeping them close. You can understand why someone behaved badly without allowing them to continue behaving badly toward you. This is a distinction many people struggle with. They think, if I forgive them, I have to trust them again. No, forgiveness and trust are different. Forgiveness can be given freely. Trust should be earned through consistent behavior. If someone repeatedly betrays you, you don't have to hate them, but you should learn. You can say, "I don't wish you harm." And also, you no longer have access to me. That's not hatred. That's wisdom. 6. Know when to walk away. There is a dangerous belief that you must keep fighting for every relationship, that you must tolerate difficult people because you've known them for years, that you must keep explaining yourself, that you must keep forgiving the same behavior, that you must keep giving people unlimited chances. But Stoicism teaches something different. Wisdom requires knowing what deserves your energy. There are situations where patience is strength, and there are situations where staying is self-destruction. The Stoic doesn't confuse endurance with wisdom. You can endure hardship without volunteering for unnecessary suffering. You can forgive someone without continuing to expose yourself to their behavior. You can care about someone without allowing them unlimited access to your life. And you can walk away without becoming their enemy. This is incredibly important, because sometimes people think walking away means you hate someone. It doesn't. Sometimes walking away means, I've learned enough. I've seen the pattern. I understand what this relationship has become, and I'm no longer willing to participate. That's not hatred. That's clarity. Know the difference between a bad day and a bad pattern. Everyone has bad moments. Everyone gets angry. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone says things they regret. So don't label someone toxic because they made one mistake. A Stoic looks for patterns. One bad day isn't necessarily a toxic person. One argument isn't necessarily a toxic relationship. One mistake isn't necessarily a reason to abandon someone. But repeated behavior is different. If someone repeatedly lies, repeatedly manipulates, repeatedly insults, repeatedly violates boundaries, repeatedly creates chaos, repeatedly refuses accountability, and repeatedly expects you to tolerate it, then you're no longer dealing with an isolated mistake. You're dealing with a pattern. And patterns deserve attention. The Stoic doesn't obsess over someone's potential. The Stoic observes reality, because potential without action is simply possibility. Someone might say, they'll change. Maybe, but you should never build your peace around someone's hypothetical future behavior. Watch what they consistently do, not what they promise. Not what they say when they're afraid of losing you. Not what they promise after an argument. Watch what happens over time. Because character is revealed through repetition. When distance becomes the answer, sometimes you don't need a dramatic confrontation. You simply need less access, less conversation, less availability, less personal information, less emotional investment, less time together. And suddenly, the person who once occupied your entire mind becomes almost irrelevant. This is one of the most underrated forms of power. You don't always need to defeat a toxic person. Sometimes you simply need to stop giving them access to you. Think about social media. Someone constantly posts negativity. You don't have to argue with them. Mute them. Someone constantly sends you insulting messages. You don't have to defend yourself. Stop engaging. Someone constantly brings drama into your life. You don't have to attend every conversation. Step back. Someone constantly violates your boundaries. You don't have to keep explaining the boundary. Create distance. This isn't weakness. It's energy management. Your attention is limited. Your time is limited. Your emotional energy is limited. So be selective about where you invest it. Don't confuse loyalty with self-betrayal. Loyalty is admirable, but blind loyalty is dangerous. You can be loyal to your family, loyal to your friends, loyal to your partner, loyal to your team. But you should never be so loyal to another person that you become disloyal to your own principles. Some people stay in toxic relationships because they believe leaving means they are a bad person. They think, but I've known them for 10 years, so I have to stay. But they're family, so I have to tolerate everything. But we have history, so I can't walk away. History deserves respect, but history does not give someone unlimited permission to mistreat you. You can appreciate what someone once meant to you while accepting that the relationship no longer belongs in your future. Sometimes people are meant to be part of a chapter, not the entire book. And that's okay. You don't need revenge. Now we come to something that destroys more peace than almost anything else. Revenge. When someone hurts you, part of you may want them to feel what you felt. You want them to regret it. You want them to realize what they lost. You want them to suffer. You want them to come back and apologize. You want them to see you succeed. You want them to watch you become happier without them. But here's the problem. The moment your happiness depends on someone else regretting their actions, they still control you. Think about that. You say, I'm going to become successful so they regret leaving me. Who is still controlling your motivation? You say, I'm going to become rich so everyone who doubted me feels stupid. Who is still living inside your head? You say, I'm going to show them they made a mistake. Who are you still performing for? The Stoic walks away from this trap. Your success should not be revenge. Your peace should not be a performance. Your growth should not be an attempt to make someone else feel small. Become better because you want to become better. Become stronger because strength is valuable. Become disciplined because discipline builds freedom. Become successful because you have meaningful goals, not because you need someone from your past or regret losing you. The best revenge isn't making someone jealous. The best revenge is becoming so focused on your own life that revenge becomes irrelevant. 7. Protect your inner peace above all else. This is a final Stoic principle, and everything we've discussed leads here. Protect your inner peace, not your ego, not your reputation, not your need to be right, not your desire to win. Your peace, because there will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be people who criticize you. There will always be people who dislike you. There will always be people who talk behind your back. There will always be people who try to provoke you. There will always be people who think they know you better than you know yourself. You cannot eliminate them, but you can decide how much access they have to your mind. This is where the Stoic becomes incredibly difficult to disturb, not because nothing affects them, but because they have learned what deserves a response and what doesn't. Not everything deserves your attention. Think about how much of your day is consumed by things that don't matter. Someone didn't respond to your message. Someone looked at you strangely. Someone made a sarcastic comment. Someone criticized your clothes. Someone didn't invite you somewhere. Someone disagreed with your opinion. Someone posted something online that you didn't like. And suddenly your mind is occupied. Hours disappear. Your peace disappears. Your attention disappears. For what? The Stoic asks, will this matter a year from now? Sometimes the answer is yes. Then act. Sometimes the answer is no. Then release it. This simple question can save you enormous emotional energy, because not every situation deserves equal importance. A minor insult should not receive the same emotional response as a serious betrayal. A stranger's opinion shouldn't carry the same weight as a judgment of someone who genuinely knows you. A random comment online shouldn't determine your mood for the entire day. Learn to rank your problems. Your attention is a resource. Spend it wisely. You cannot control their mind. One of the final chains you need to break is a desire to control what other people think. You want them to understand you. You want them to respect you. You want them to regret their behavior. You want them to see your side. You want them to admit they were wrong. But you cannot control another person's mind. You can communicate. You can explain. You can demonstrate. But eventually, their interpretation belongs to them. And once you understand this, you stop fighting battles you cannot win. You stop chasing explanations. You stop begging for apologies. You stop trying to force people to see your value. You simply live according to your principles. That is freedom. The Stoic does not need to be understood. There is something incredibly powerful about becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. You don't have to explain every decision. You don't have to justify every boundary. You don't have to defend every silence. You don't have to convince people that you're a good person. Your character is demonstrated through your life. If you know you're acting with integrity, let that be enough. There is a beautiful strength in being able to say, you may misunderstand me, and I will still continue. You may criticize me, and I will still continue. You may doubt me, and I will still continue. You may dislike me, and I will still continue. Because your direction is no longer determined by their opinion. The Stoic final lesson, and here's the deepest lesson of all. The goal isn't to create a life where nobody is toxic. That's impossible. The goal is to create a mind that toxic people cannot easily control. You will meet difficult people. You will encounter dishonest people. You will experience betrayal. You will face criticism. You will be misunderstood. You will encounter people who try to manipulate you. That's life, but you get to decide what happens next. You can become bitter, or wiser. You can become angry, or disciplined. You can become vengeful, or peaceful. You can become reactive, or composed. You can allow their behavior to change your character, or you can use the experience to strengthen it. That choice belongs to you. Remember, you don't control what people bring into your life, but you control what you allow to remain there. You don't control what people say about you, but you control whether you believe every word. You don't control whether people respect you, but you control whether you respect yourself. You don't control whether someone apologizes, but you control whether you continue carrying resentment. You don't control another person's character, but you absolutely control your own. And that is where your power has been all along. Walk away with dignity. The next time someone tries to provoke you, pause. The next time someone insults you, observe. The next time someone disrespects you, establish a boundary. The next time someone misunderstands you, don't panic. The next time someone tries to manipulate you, don't participate. The next time someone repeatedly brings chaos into your life, create distance. And the next time you feel tempted to get revenge, remember that peace is more valuable than revenge. You don't have to destroy toxic people. You don't have to expose everyone. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to make them regret losing you. You don't have to prove that you're stronger. Sometimes strength is simply walking away. Sometimes wisdom is silence. Sometimes self-respect is distance. Sometimes courage is refusing to participate. And sometimes the greatest victory is waking up one morning and realizing they no longer have any power over you. You don't hate them. You don't obsess over them. You don't check what they are doing. You don't care what they think. You don't need an apology. You don't need revenge. You simply moved on. Your life became bigger than the situation. Your goals became more important than the conflict. Your peace became more valuable than being right. And that's when you become truly free. Because the strongest person in the room isn't always the loudest. It isn't always the person who wins the argument. It isn't always the person who gets the last word. Sometimes the strongest person is the one who can look at chaos, remain calm, choose wisdom, and walk away. So remember this. You cannot control toxic people, but you can control your distance from them. You can control your boundaries. You can control your attention. You can control your reactions. You can control your character. And most importantly, you can control whether their darkness becomes yours. Don't let someone else's lack of self-control destroy your self-control. Don't let someone else's bitterness make you bitter. Don't let someone else's chaos steal your peace. Stand firm. Stay calm. Protect your character. And when necessary, walk away. Not because you're weak, but because you finally understood your worth. Not because they won, but because you refused to keep playing a game that cost you your peace. And not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about the one person whose life you can actually control. Your own. That is stoicism. That is emotional strength. And that is true freedom.